At 18 past the hour now, there is new fallout for an iconic American brand, Coca-Cola, going all woke in its messaging to Americans, especially concerning Georgia's voting laws. Now there's a new nonprofit calling the company out for hypocrisy. Watch here.
At Coke, we say we're woke. China is our labor supplier that drives our stock price even higher.
So it goes on from there. The group is called Consumer Research, launching that campaign, pointing out that Coke has been silent on human rights abuses in China, even as it takes a far-left stance here at home. Vivek Ramaswamy is an entrepreneur and author of the forthcoming book, Woke Inc. It'll be out second week in August. And Vivek, welcome back here. I mean, listen, your entire book is about this concept. What do you make of the pushback now?
Well, look, I think Coca-Cola, Bill, is among those companies that has mastered the art of blowing woke smoke, that is using progressive values to cover up their actual business practices. It's a lot easier for them to talk about voting laws in Georgia than it is to reduce their own reliance on slave labor in China. It's a lot easier for them to teach their employees how to be less white than it is to reckon with their own role in fueling a nationwide epidemic of diabetes and obesity, by the way, in the black community that they profess to care so much about. And so when these CEOs wade into politics, Bill, they try to have it both ways. They want to force their values down our throats, but without democratic accountability. That's why I like what Consumer Research is doing, is they say you don't get to have it both ways. If you're going to wade into politics, then we're going to hold you politically accountable and not allow you to avoid debate on these contentious social issues. So I'm glad to see what they're doing.
You know, I've seen your book. I've read it. We've had a long conversation about it. Your premise is this: pretend to care about something other than profit or power precisely to gain more of each. Does that fit in here?
That's exactly right. I mean, look, Coca-Cola has a lot of difficult business practices that it would rather not talk about. And we live in this moment where a lot of consumers appear to care about progressive social values at these companies. And so this is just another way for them to make an extra buck, for them to aggregate profits for Coca-Cola and power for its CEO. But I think that once we see through this charade of virtue signaling, consumers aren't going to fall for the trick any longer. That's why I wrote the book, but I think that's also why groups like Consumer Research are doing good work in exposing that hypocrisy, really that fraud, for the essence of what it is.
This is Will Hyatt. I don't know if you know him or not. He's the executive director of this group that we mentioned here, Consumer Research. Listen here.
They don't lift a finger to criticize the CCP and their human rights abuses in China, but they want to preach to the American consumer, who they should be serving, about political issues that are not germane to their business. Stop cozying up to woke politicians. Focus on your customers.
Is this the pushback that you've been waiting for?
He hits on a pretty important point that very few people have appreciated, which is that the CCP, the Communist Party of China, has weaponized the woke pandemic, and in particular woke capitalism, to advance their own geopolitical goals. Because what they do, Bill, is they roll out the red carpet for any company that criticizes the United States, but they build a great Chinese wall that prevents you from coming in if you criticize the CCP. So it's now no surprise that every time they're pressed on their human rights abuses in the Xinjiang province with the Uyghur human rights crisis, the first thing that Xi Jinping now says is that Black Lives Matter shows that the United States is no better. And the way they're able to get away with it is the two-faced corporations that criticize the United States for injustice, but don't say a peep in China. So this actually has geopolitical consequences that go beyond the consumer-based hypocrisy that we see here.
How about BLM embracing the communist government in Cuba? They're blaming it all in the United States. Vivek, who's next? Who would be the next target?
Well, who would be the next target in terms of which companies are going to go in this direction?
Is it Delta? Is it Nike?
I mean, look, I think we're seeing it in the NFL. You were just talking about it in the earlier segment. And I think that the private sector used to be one of those places that brought us together, because we live in a divided polity, right? We're politically divided. That depends on certain spaces that can still bring us back together. Major League Baseball stadiums, NFL stadiums. And as each of these institutions and each of these companies go woke, we now lose the ability to come together in those apolitical spaces that used to bring us together as one people. And I think that's the real loss, Bill.
Pretend to care about something other than profit or power precisely to gain more of each. These are your ideas. They're in Woke Inc. You can get it very soon. Vivek, great to see you. We'll talk again very soon. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.